Alright, no need for fancy introduction. This is just a quick video on basic AoP burster, I guess. And this is just a normal char that just has superset added for sake of presentation. And I just gave him 250 big guns too, which you would have anyway later on with a high level. But anyway, just to explain the build, so we have 6 strength, because that's the min requirement of the PKS and most other machine guns too. 5 PE because you need 5 perception to get the most out of bursting and torso shooting range. More than 5 perception only works for aim shots. Then of course we try to get as much endurance as possible. However, if you are in a squad with a leader boost, which you should be, then trading some endurance to get some charisma is actually worth it in terms of HP. And of course you'll be running other boosts like usually sight range and weapon AP cost. So a bit of charisma isn't bad. Usually like 4 is a good number. The next one, intelligence 5, because we want 250 skill and a bit of first aid, I guess. And I always like maximum agility. And then for luck, we still have the crit resistance, so we need some luck. But other than that, luck doesn't really bring anything to the table for a burster, so you can just keep that low. And then moving to the perks and traits. Usually I always take small frame because I like agility, and I don't feel like knockdowns are too much of a problem, especially since most of them come from weapon traits anyway. So the first perk is usually Man of Steel, but that's because I'm using 3 luck, so some extra crit resistance can't hurt. Then of course toughness at 6. At 9 I often take Nerves of Steel. There are other options too, but the bonus from Nerves of Steel is really strong actually, and it can really help you to survive in those situations where you're being suppressed, so it's a good pick for a tank. Then of course Life Giver, Broth, and Action Boy, because I like agility. And at 21 it gets interesting. So PMS Defense is a really nice perk for any tank, especially when you take improved hemostasis at 3, and if you're also running a bleed convert leader boost, then you can get very tanky, and it's a good pick for any character really. And then laser rifling. Now I didn't use fast shot on this character, which I would usually do if I was going to use a normal weapon that doesn't have an accuracy, but the PKS, it does have accuracy malus of 20%, which means that usually my hit chance, as you can see, is just, it would be 70%, 75%, but because of laser rifling it's 80. And as a rule of thumb, if you have any sort of accuracy malus on the gun, then don't take fast shot at all. But you know, if you're using barrel rifles, then there's basically no harm in taking fast shot, so that's always a nice pick. Alright, the next thing I want to talk about is the burst mechanics, which I guess a lot of people won't be familiar with. So we have, actually we don't see it here. Okay, we have the 1 hex, that's 42. It's basically the percentage of the bullets of the full burst that can hit at 1 hex. It's a bad name, but basically I'm shooting 7 rounds. Yep, well, 6 rounds, but I got this perk here, so I'm shooting 7 rounds, and with the 1x of 42, and the game usually runs down, so that's 3 bullets that I can hit with at maximum, but each bullet, even at 1 hex, will still have the accuracy problem. So when I go in and just burst here, then as we can see, it's gone random, and apparently I was off with the 3 hex bullets hitting. But in any case, yeah, usually for the PKS it it's pretty much the same on any range, and you want to, like, the accuracy malus makes it really random anyway, and you pretty much always just end up hitting up to 5 people. It just each one with like 1 or 2 bullets. So it's pretty consistent on range. But basically, as far as bursting is concerned, it would take the value that it, like the maximum amount of bullets that it can hit with at 1 hex. It takes the percentage, rounds down, and then it basically scales down from there using the spread. Basically, the higher the spread, the faster it scales down. And now with some spread, and I think that's actually the case here, that you pretty much hit on every range with 2 bullets. So the spread here is really just to give you a nice cone here. So in terms of mechanics, what it means for this weapon is just you just want to hit as many targets as possible at the same time, because as you can see here, this is max range for me, and I'm hitting pretty much everyone here with like 1 round or 2. Okay, at this range it's just everyone with 1 round, because it got so many targets. If you don't have that many targets, then some of them might be... Alright, I'm talking shit, something changed. Okay, I'm just at max range, only hitting with 1 round. Let's try the medium range. I might be hitting with 2 rounds here. Yep, there we see them. But still, with the machine gun, you want to, like, it's not worth it going in and actually like trying to get as close as possible with a machine gun, because there are better weapons for the job than I've got here. So let's talk a bit more about the actual setup that I'm using with the machine gun now. So we have established that we want to take max range, which is quite long, and also with the burst mechanics you see that the cone extends quite a lot, and you still have a decent chance at hitting stuff that's outside your effective range. And especially since you will do a lot of hex bursting and like bursting into smoke, like just bursting, trying to de-sneak some sneaks or whatever. So yeah, it is pretty random, but it's always nice having that extra range, and you shouldn't look at the white line as your max range, because especially with the PKS, it's nice being able to just burst anyway. Alright, so next step is on AoP. We always want to take a couple weapons more. So usually, even without throwing skill, you want to use a smoke nade just to smoke yourself. Like when you're being attacked by snipers and you know that you'll have to move, then you just smoke yourself, and the range really doesn't matter. I've tagged throwing skill, but I haven't put any points into it, and just the relatively high strength itself is giving me some extra range. So it's not as bad, but even with basically 1 hex of smoke range, I could still just smoke myself and then like move 1 hex just to be safe from enemy sniper firing. And any extra bit of range is just nice to smoke teammates. I like to support rushes, and yeah, but generally at the same time, since you are usually on very long range, you don't really want to use like flame grenades or frag grenades, because you won't be close enough anyway, and smoke grenade is really nice. So next step, of course, some stims here, and then the big question of the second gun. Now the first one I spawned here is the Deagle. Thing is, due to critical strike, it is pretty reliant on having luck in the build, which I don't have at all. So I have a lot less crits and a lot weaker crits, because I don't have the crit power roll from luck. And also intelligence and perception are just pretty average, so it's not really you know, that good of a weapon, even if I had like 250 small guns to go with the big gun skill. So it's really not something you want to use together with a. I mean, you can make it work, but um, usually the go-to weapon is a shotgun or assault rifle. The nice thing about shotguns is you can use the green ammo, the fléchés, and you don't. It doesn't have any luck or perception or intelligence scaling to it because it's not crit based. So if you don't have perception in a luck, then basically you don't want to use crit based weapons. Simple as that. And so that leaves either shotgun bursting with green ammo. Um, it's nice against melees, and because um, it has a big alpha damage. Like you can hit people for a lot of damage, and it's not cut up into small pieces like it is with the full auto fire modes. However, the downside is even when you're using single shot with the green ammo, then okay, I guess there was a white shell in there. It's still treated as a burst because it's basically that each shotgun shell that's not a slug is pretty much a burst in terms of the engine. So what that means is, let me just pause somewhere. When you have the typical building fights going on, and you have like one enemy here in the building, and you have a teammate trying to get him, then if you only have those burst weapons, you cannot support your guy by standing behind him because of friendly fire. So in this case, you could say this would be an advantage of the deagle as a backup weapon, but the better choice is usually the assault rifle because of the accurate burst straight. As long as you don't hex burst the weapon, which you shouldn't be doing anyway, you will only hit your main target, so you can actually use it in such a window train, as it's called. So it's just very nice when the situation basically calls for a small range weapon or for some window support, for some building fighting, that you have this gun to yeah, just to remain useful to the team basically. Now also in general the single target damage of this weapon is higher than this one, especially since you don't need to deploy, and it's very quick to reload and just very convenient to play with. Another option would be the Milcore. It is a single shot weapon, and it's also got a nice range, as we see here. But the thing is, we basically already have AoE with the machine gun, and I personally think it's better to concentrate, like to just specialize in burst AoE, and then to have a second weapon for a different situation. Whereas the Milko kind of fills a very similar role, so you're basically just doing the same thing twice, and it takes away some flexibility from the whole team. However, it is really nice if you actually have the flame nades for it. I usually prefer the flame nades, especially if you don't have throwing and don't have any incendiaries, because then you can just, this is just love damage, and you can basically block an area, or at least scare off the enemy, and just to buy some time, like to reload or whatever. It's just generally a pretty good weapon if you have enough of a team. Like if you're just having a small fight of like 3 and 3, then probably don't use the grenade launcher. So yeah, as far as the build is concerned, this would technically be a big guns build for the PKS. You could drop the strength to 5, and then I would like put that into luck or something, And with 5 strength you could use the Johnson. See them, min strength 5. And the Johnson, while it is a machine gun, it's got pretty good range, but it doesn't have the AoE at all. Like usually, as you can see, the spread cone is not very big, and while we can hit 2 targets with it, you see that one target's getting hit with 3 bullets and the other one's with 2. And if you just have one target anyway, then he will be hit with 3 bullets. So this weapon is basically about ranged bursting. Okay, I'm gonna quickly need some more ammo here. But it's a very nice weapon to play with, and you can basically use it on the same build too. Because this build is pretty standard burster build. And again, this weapon will basically have better single target damage compared to the PKS, and it has the bonus of being relatively easy to play with. You still have to look out for friendly fire, but you're not getting blocked as easily as with a white cone. And yeah, the problem is, even though it's machine gun, the suppression is not that high, because it actually just fires 5 bullets. Even with the PKS it can take a while until you've actually suppressed someone, but yeah, again, with this gun you want to stay on max range, and if you're going closer to like 30 hex and closer than that, then you already want to switch to like a shotgun or assault rifle, because these machine guns are really all about the range, especially with the burst mechanics. Like we have a max range of 70, and as you've seen before, I can just be up here and still hit those targets down there. So you can actually hit enemy snipers with it, and this was also part of the reason for this change to the burst mechanics and the range. Alright, I'm just gonna stop it here and maybe make more videos later. Alright, see ya.